Hey everyone, nice to see so many of you here. And yeah, super excited to be doing this. Most of you know that grant writing proposal development is my thing. So I'm excited to be able to hopefully share as much as I can with you in this time that's going to be way too short, but we're going to try and get a lot done. So the first thing I wanted to kind of go over are some of the activities and steps that are involved in writing grant proposals, just to kind of ground you in the scope of the work. And I'm not going to go over everything in here, but basically you've got 3 phases. One is kind of gearing up, starting, getting ready to be writing. And one of those things that is an ongoing task is a need to be monitoring funding opportunities, especially opportunities that are government opportunities or foundations where there are going to be deadlines, right? So one of the things you need to be able to do is figure out how to do that. Get on listservs, maybe have partners who are willing to share opportunities when they come out with you. Another thing you need to do is figure out who your team is. If you've got partners that you're going to work with, get them organized. And then starting collecting information so that when an opportunity comes along, you're not scrambling in the last minute. The second task that's super important and often is kind of overlooked is you need to have a process for decision making. And that process needs to be quick and efficient, right? So that when an RFP stands for a request for proposal, which is how grant opportunities are oftentimes broadcasted through this request for proposal. But basically, you need a process to make quick decisions to know whether or not you're going to move forward. I could do a whole training just on that, but that's something that you need to do. And then the big stuff, obviously, are all the things you need to do to pull a proposal together. And these are the things that I do, right? So creating a timeline and a work plan, right? So that you don't miss critical dates. And you know all of the different things. It's really frustrating to get halfway through and then all of a sudden realize, oh, we need letters of support, and we've not reached out and get them. And one tip that I would give all of you is that when you're putting together grant proposals, one of the first things you need to look for or any activities that involve people outside of your immediate control, right? So if you need to get a support letter, if you need to get an MOU signed, if you need data from somebody other than your team, you probably want to front load that and do that as soon as possible, rather than waiting till the end, because you can always manage your team. You can always do a last minute hustle for your own part of the work. But anything that involves kind of people outside of your control, get on top of that. Other things that you're going to do is fill out the forms, create an initial draft. One thing that it is absolutely critical to do is review any opportunity to look for compliance needs. And it's a step that's often overlooked by nonprofits, and it's to their peril, right? You need to make sure, like, get a marker pen, highlight anything that is and by that I mean, like, if you have to make sure your staff are trained in certain things, if you have to do live scan, fingerprinting, you're especially looking for things that are going to cost you money, or that if you don't do them, you're jeopardizing the work. So definitely do a compliance review to make sure, because you want to do an eyes wide open decision as to whether or not you even want to go after this funding. Find somebody who can proofread your application who's not been part of the development. Like, find someone who can read it, and they'll find things like inconsistencies, typos, areas of the proposal that don't make sense to an outsider. And then after you've done that, you're going to do a final draft and make sure that you have got all the attachments and upload it. And the last thing you need to do always is you need to thank everyone. Writing a grant proposal is a lot of work. It can be a very thankless task. So, courtesy is to thank everyone involved and let them know that it's been submitted. So this is like a quick 3-minute window into basically the life of a grant writer and all the things that are involved, not to scare you, but just to let you know that, you know, there needs to be some organization behind that. If you want to move on to the next slide, that would be great. Okay, why on earth have I put a picture of a stool with 3 legs on this in this PowerPoint? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. So go to the next step. Next slide. All right. Almost every grant or proposal you write or any request for funding, funders are concerned about 3 things. They want to know that whatever it is you're doing, that there's a need, that you're solving a problem, that there's a need for whatever it is you're proposing. And you need to be able to convince them that the need exists and that you are aware of it and all that good stuff. The second thing is you need a design, you need a solution, you need a plan, you need a project that's based upon logic and knowledge, stands a good chance of being successful. And of course, that plan needs to align with the need, right? You don't want to say we have a need for, you know, our community has got some really serious depression, PTSD, anxiety, and we can show you that they have those needs, and then have a design that is focused on something completely different, computer training, that don't match, right? And then the third thing you need, they're interested in is, are you the right organization to do the work? You know, what's your qualifications or your collaborative qualifications? So those 3 things, if any one of those 3 things is weak, think of the stool, right? If one of the legs is wobbly or weak, or even worse, missing, it's going to fall over. It's not going to stand up. So for your proposal to stand up and be solid, you always need these 3 things. Okay. And it's almost universal. Every single proposal you write, some shape, manner, or form. The only time it doesn't is that sometimes there are opportunities where the funder has already decided that they understand the need, right? And all they want to know from you is that you've oftentimes county proposals, you don't need to tell them what the need is, because they've already determined that they understand the need. And what they're putting out is a request for a contract that actually do the work. And in that case, you don't need to tell, you can skip leg 1 because they've already got that leg set up. And all you need to focus on is your design and proving that you're the right people to do the work. If anyone who's done county proposals know that that's a common situation. All right, moving on. So I'm going to focus on 2 parts of those 3 legs because we don't have a lot of time. We're going to focus on the need and the design, right? So the very first thing you want to do is make sure you understand the need or problem. I always have this saying that you can't solve a problem that you don't understand. So the very first thing you need to do is you need to get on solid ground in terms of understanding the community need or problem that you're going to address in your grant. And I always think of this as a little bit like you're being like a detective, right? Or an investigator. You need to get into investigation detective mode to start collecting the evidence and the data that you're going to need to write this section. If you want to go to the